It was nearly 52 years ago that Martin Luther King Jr. stood at the Lincoln Memorial and delivered his dream for America.
I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
But that dream is still a work in progress despite electing our first African-American president.
Yeah, you know, America has been divided over several high-profile cases just in the past few years, and it all suggests we have a long way to go, most notably the deaths of Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, and Eric Garner, none of which resulted in criminal charges. Right. So it's very nice today because one of the attorneys who represented the Martin and Brown families is joining us now to discuss the state of race in this country. We would like to welcome Daryl Parks from Parks and Crump Attorneys at Law. We want to thank you, Daryl, for coming in to talk to us about this.
Thanks for having me.
It is an important issue. You know, you've been on the front lines of these cases and you've seen firsthand the racial divide over them. I mean, what are your thoughts on race relations today?
Well, I mean, like anything, it's a work in progress. However, I think we are making some progress. I mean, really, when you think about having President Obama in the White House, that is big progress.
That's a big deal.
I mean, and I've had a chance to see him. I happened to be in Egypt when he came to Egypt for his first visit for the big speech in Cairo. It was amazing to be there and see the response to him. So it matters.
It's amazing to think, though, despite that huge stride, we still have these problems in our everyday. It seems like we can't go a couple of weeks without another case of something happening, you know?
Well, you have to remember, that's individual conduct. I think the real threat would be, for example, when you have whole police departments that are behaving like that. You're always going to have individual people who will do isolated incidents, right? And it's important. Even when we had the one bad guy who killed those two cops in New York, that was one person. Unfortunately, someone tried to portray that as a whole movement. It's not. It's one person.
I am so glad that you're bringing that to light because as an African American, sometimes I'm caught in the middle trying to figure out, okay, it seems like there was one incident that happened here, but then this on the other side really did happen, and I'm very specifically thinking like the riots, for example.
Well, think about it. Think about tens of thousands of people marched and protested across the country. Maybe you had a few people, a handful of people who may have done something different. You always have that. That's just society. But we should never, especially for you all who are in the media, never let that be the portrayal of the whole group, because it's not. It represents probably less than 1%.
Do you still think racial profiling is happening right now, today?
By law enforcement?
Yeah, sure.
For sure.
To what degree?
Well, I mean, you see it. Think about when you ride down a major U.S. interstate and you see the cop stop someone. Who is it normally that you see? Who is it normally that you see them going through their car? Who is it you normally see sitting on the sidewalk? Who is it?
See, I couldn't answer that question because I live in a predominantly, you know, Caucasian neighborhood. I don't see that many. So I do see police officers pulling Caucasians over as well.
But let's be realistic.
So
if I was black and I was pulled over by a cop, I would be scared. I would. I mean, I'm not even fully white, but I still would feel safer to some degree than if I simply was black, just because I think there's already that sets the tone.
The real change will happen here. Most law enforcement agencies reflect the policymakers who they're working for. So, for example, in a county, most sheriff's departments are going to reflect the people who they're serving, and they'll do as much as they think they can get away with. That's normally what you find. So where you see them being a lot more racist, for lack of a better word, that's normally because the population that they work for are more willing to allow that to happen. So there's a little bit of a direct correlation between the two.
And do you think that it's still necessary for parents to talk to especially their young sons about having a conflict or interaction with the police at this
For sure.
late age?
Remember now, as a country, we've given the police a license and broad authority to be a little bit harsher on some than others. Right? There's some who think they're above the law, then there's some that we believe that we must police that community. Not protect them, not serve them, police them and put more cops there than normal. Now, the cops certainly counter by saying, well, there's more crime there. Well, that's true too, but there's a way to address that crime. You have to teach your kids to comply with cops. I mean, let that be the number one
that's
rule.
what I'm saying.
Teach them to comply and get past the situation. Let me fight the cops at the police headquarters. That's a fair fight. Don't fight. None of us can ever win on the side of the road against a cop. So don't make that your battle place.
What do you think about social media's role in all this? Because it is amazing in this day and age how quickly news can spread. There's even a hashtag right now because of all these cases. It's hashtag Black Lives Matter, which is powerful. It's kind of sad we have to be reminded of that. But what do you think is social media's part in all
it's
of this?
powerful. I mean, it's been a direct mechanism to spread the word. So it's played a pivotal role. I won't say it was the main thing in it, but it's played a big role in raising the consciousness.
Our challenge today is about forgiveness. How do we as a country start the healing process and learn to forgive?
I think it started. I mean, it's been a nonviolent movement, number one. And I think that at the center of this, just like back in the MLK days, I think there's a religious component that has always existed with this. To have forgiveness is based in Christianity and religion. And so I think as for those of us who are religious, you have to reflect upon that during this time as well.
All right, I want to thank you very much, Daryl Parks, for stopping by and sharing your insight with us.